Good afternoon, everyone. I do hope you are having a good day. I and a great weekend because I haven't actually been in touch this weekend. Just thought I'd give it a rest and join you today, being Monday. In the UK, we have cloudy skies, which seems more like the norm, but we remain thankful nonetheless. Hope you're staying safe. Today, I'd like to touch base with you as it relates to Character 101, and the subtopic is faithful friends. So, Character 101, how to be faithful, subtopic faithful friends. As defined in previous episodes, character is the complex of mental and ethical traits marking and often individualizing a person, group, or nation. And one of the definitions that I found about faithfulness, as it relates to faithfulness, is as follows. It's defined as firm and not changing in your friendship with or support for a person or an organization or in your belief or principles. That's the definition of faithfulness that I found. Okay, just to start off with a story, but before I start off with that story, just a gentle reminder to go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel, Kingdom Youth Network, so that you are notified of future videos. Okay, so go ahead and subscribe. Thank you so much. So just to start off with a story, my housemate has a dog. We'll call him Coco, for the sake of data protection. So his name is Coco, and because I buried a dog as a child, I just prefer to keep animals on the peripheries of my heart. That was the plan as it relates to Coco. So sometimes I'd come in and stroke him. Other times I'd come in and not stroke him. I'd just say hi and get on with my day. But then I realized as time went on that the less I stroked him, the less responsive he became to me. So initially I'd walk into the room and he'd be barking and jumping, all excited, trying to jump on my legs and stuff like that. But as I stopped stroking him, eventually I'd just walk into the room and there was no response. And I noticed that, and I didn't really like it. So I thought, you know what, let me go back to stroking him and showing him some affection. And so I did that, and eventually he became more responsive, like he used to. And he went away with his owner for about 3 weeks. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks. And when he returned yesterday, he was like jumping all over me and licking my legs and wagging his tail in such excitement. I was like, you still remember me? Because I don't know what dog memory is like. I thought maybe he'd forgotten me. But he hadn't. He was ever so excited to see me. He was barking, not too loud at that stage, jumping on me and everything, which was really nice. So regardless of the distance and the time that elapsed, he still remained faithful to me as a person. So that's just a little story that just thought I'd share. So faithfulness, my understanding of faithfulness and friendship is a commitment to stand by an individual through thick and thin. So through the difficult circumstances, through not so difficult circumstances, you're committed to standing by that individual. Such a person remains faithful whether or not they like you, because you don't like everybody that you love every day of your life. You don't. Sometimes you really do dislike them, but a faithful person remains faithful even when they don't like you. They might not believe in what you're doing at a particular point in time. They might not believe in your decisions or in the behavior that you are showing at a particular point in time. However, their love for you is what keeps them faithful regardless of the circumstances. So a faithful person is not bound by circumstances. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. They've already made a commitment, and it's an internal commitment to you, and that's what keeps them faithful. So why should you be faithful? Why should you be a faithful friend? I've got down some pointers here. So you should be a faithful friend because it makes you a better person, not just in friendship, but at work. So it spills over. So if you can get faithfulness down to a T in friendship, you will see results in other areas of your life. So it's of benefit for you to be a faithful person. The practice of faithfulness helps to attract other faithful people into your life. So like attracts like. Love begets love, hate begets hate, and that's just the way it works. So if you cultivate the quality of faithfulness in yourself, what you'll find is over time, it might not necessarily happen immediately or within a few years, but eventually what you'll find is the quality of people that begin to enter your life are also faithful. Because you are faithful, you attract them into your life. And also, faithfulness creates in you a quality of dependability. When you can be faithful in friendships, what it does is that it increases your capacity. And so, people who don't even know you, when they meet you, because your capacity is so increased, when people who don't even know you meet you, they sense that they can depend on you, and you don't even have to say much. It's just who you are, and the practice that you have involved yourself in behind closed doors or in the privacy of your relationship, which they might not necessarily be aware of, but because you've practiced faithfulness over time, you then create this aura around you, and people who don't know you just sense that they can depend on you. In a similar manner, someone who has developed the practice of being unfaithful, when they come into contact with people that they don't know, they sense that this person is not to be trusted. And so being faithful is of the utmost importance, because it does spill over into other areas of your life. Yeah. And also, faithfulness shows up in your words, and your words are often the basis upon which people make decisions about you. Because when people are meeting you for the first time, they don't necessarily know much about you, but what you're saying, it makes an impression on them. So if you are in a faithful friendship, or you are a faithful friend, the words of protection that you're going to be using, the words of allegiance, the words that you use as it relates to that friendship, if as those words come out of your mouth, it will make an impact and an impression on those with whom you're interacting with. And be sure it won't go unnoticed, because they're making an assessment about you. Yeah. So I'd just like to share with you some fallacies as it relates to faithfulness. So one of the fallacies that I discovered, or that I've noted down, is some people feel that faithful friendships are people who never have disagreements. And this is a fallacy, because by virtue of the fact that the individuals actually inhabits different bodies, this means that they'll have distinct personalities. Even if it's twins, like even if it's a set of twins that are faithful to each other, they still have their distinct personalities. And so, by virtue of those distinct personalities, they are bound to have disagreements. So, disagreements are a part of life. So, faithful friends do have disagreements. However, what keeps them faithful is that regardless of what happens in that disagreement, they still remain committed to the friendship, right? So faithful friends have disagreements just like other people, but they remain committed to the friendship. Yeah. So the next fallacy is a faithful friend has to support everything that their friend does. So if their friend is abusive of other people, or hated on other people, people feel like because their friend is perhaps involved in this altercation and getting themselves embroiled in confusion on one side or drama, they feel like they need to get involved in that. That's not the case. If your friend is involved in something that you're not in support of, and you know is not good for them, you don't need to involve yourself in that. If a faithful friend witnesses their friend maybe shoot somebody down in cold blood, as an extreme example, a faithful friend would persuade that friend who's just committed that crime to hand themselves over to the authorities. So faithful friends do what is best for their friends, regardless of whether it makes them uncomfortable. They know what they need to do, and they go ahead and do that. Some people also think that faithful friends need to be in constant communication. That's a fallacy. For instance, the dog Coco, and this is the dog we're talking about. The dog hadn't seen me in 3 weeks, but yet it remained faithful. So as it relates to humans, we have obviously greater capacity than a dog. And so faithfulness does not require day-to-day communication. It doesn't need constant communication. It's a posture of the heart. And so regardless of whether time has lapsed, those friends remain faithful to each other. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you some tips on how to be faithful. So, like, we all want to be faithful, but how do we go about being faithful? These are my tips. Number one, choose to look beyond the flaws of people. A book that I subscribe to, which is the Bible, says, make allowances for the flaws of others. So when you accept the reality that we are all human, and so by virtue of our humanity, we all have flaws, then it frees up your mind to stay focused on what is positive about the person with whom you're friends with. So when you just accept the fact that this individual is going to have flaws and those flaws will be different from your flaws. So remember that they have flaws, but also remember that you also have flaws. So you might have flaws in different places, but they're flaws nonetheless. So when you accept that, then it helps you just focus on the positives in this individual, and it won't let you won't get distracted by things that they do that irritate you or get on your nerves. You might get irritated or put out, but not for long, because you then remember, like, okay, this person has flaws and they're different from my flaws. I forgive them. And so yes, if you focus on the positive aspects of that person, then you're better able to stay faithful to that person. Next, learn to place yourself in other people's shoes. In order to be faithful, you have to learn to project yourself into other people's shoes. So for instance, one of the former CEOs of GE, Jack Welch, would often go and interact with people at grassroots to understand the challenges that they were facing, to understand what they did in their day-to-day lives at work and in their personal lives. And so when you're able to do that, when you're able to place yourself in other people's shoes, then you're better able to get an understanding and then champion their rights just as you would your own. So you're no longer approaching it from like a standoff. Like you're not looking at it from a vantage point. You're actually going up close and personal to that individual, and you're actually walking in their shoes. And because you're walking in their shoes mentally, then you can actually speak for them and defend their rights as you would your own. And then the final tip is see value in everyone you meet. John Maxwell refers to it as placing a 10 on everybody's head. So by that, what he means is just understanding that each individual that you meet is valuable. So when you understand that point, then you know that the person that you're interacting with deserves your faithfulness. So you're number 10, and they're also number 10. So your value, similarly, they are of value. So that helps you understand that this is a person to whom I can be faithful, and then you go ahead and do that. Okay, these are some of my tips for you today. Please, again, feel free to share, like, and subscribe. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Take it easy. Bye.